All right, my friends, I want to talk to you about what's happening in between your ears, aka the stories you're telling yourself, aka your mindset, which is a key piece of being able to perform at the highest level. What ends up happening is that we set a goal, whether it's making it to Olympics, completing a marathon, or achieving or unlocking our first muscle up, and we know exactly where we're going. And we can also identify where we are right now. What ends up happening is that because our goal is crystal clear and where we're standing right now is very obvious, we set this linear expectation that if we just set course, we will get there. But the truth is that it doesn't look like this when we are going through a full progression. It usually looks a little bit up and down and curls around, comes all the way back to the beginning, and somehow, if you continue going, you end up at the end. One of the things that we know is that 97% of people who start something do not finish. These people drop off. So how can we make this number a little bit better? How can we get our stats to be on our side? Well, it all starts up here. So knowing that the stats are against us, that 97% of the people who get started are probably not going to finish, that means that if you're watching this video, you have already started and you're probably within this bucket. What I want to do is I want to get these stats to be on our side, in our favor. And the first thing we have to do is we have to close the expectation gap. What is the expectation gap? Well, the expectation gap is, imagine yourself being on the edge of a cliff. This is you right here. And your goal being on a cliff that is slightly far away. And that cliff right there, if you make it there, you'll be crossing the finish line. You'll be unlocking the muscle up. You'll be completing the marathon. You'll be achieving the thing that you set out to do. The problem is that this gap right here is where most of us end up falling through, 97% of us. What we want to do is close this gap. And because we know that physically, we can't get you prepared to achieve a muscle up, complete a marathon, squat 1,000 pounds, make $1 million right now, but we can get you emotionally and mentally there. How do we do this? Well, it starts with appreciation. If you can appreciate where you're standing right now and realize that this is the foundation that's going to get you closer to where you want to go, the expectation gap disappears. It becomes a bridge, and it allows you to appreciate, just like the value of a home. If you buy one, you hope that the value appreciates over time. It allows you to set a foundation that is conducive for growth. In other words, if you can't appreciate where you are right now, you don't have any business moving forward. So you must identify where you're standing in this moment physically, how you're thinking about it, and ultimately how you feel about it. If you can feel appreciative for what you can currently do right now, then you'll be able to stick to your practice. And when you stick to your practice over time, you will see progress, whether it's easy or hard, because you are appreciating, you are choosing to stick to the process. Over time, you will see progress. And because when you see progress by you appreciating and adhering to the program, you will be able to look back and find meaning. And it's in the meaning where we don't just find why we do things, but rather for what. And for what, my friends, is the $1 million question. So here's a quick aside from all of this that we've talked about in terms of the stats being against us, the expectation gap, and ultimately the $1 million question, which is for what. And the aside is about the following. I want you to imagine that working towards a muscle up is like working towards making $1 million. Okay? Imagine the muscle up is equivalent to $1 million. Let's say you had a job that paid you $10 per hour. That means that you would have to work 100,000 hours to accumulate $1 million. 100,000 hours for the average American is 40 hours per week of work approximately, which would turn out to be 2,500 weeks of work, which I believe the math leads to something along the lines of 48 years of work. That's how long it would take you to accumulate $1 million at $10 per hour. If you think about the $1 million as the muscle up and knowing that you have a path ahead of yourself, which is 48 years, for some of you guys, it may be daunting, but I believe that if you're watching this, you're not too scared of this process. It takes a long time to unlock the thing that we want. And if in your case, what you want is the muscle up, know that that process is long and sometimes very hard. Now, if I were to ask you guys right now as you're watching this to raise your hand whether you're willing to participate in 48 years of work to get your $1 million, I believe, or I imagine rather, that a lot of you guys would be like, yes, I really want this. And remember, we are thinking about $1 million as the muscle up and the muscle up as the thing that you want. Now, this may be a little bit scary to think about 48 years, but when you really want something, you don't look at this. You're looking at the prize, eyes on the prize. You're looking where you want to go. So regardless of it being hard or not, it doesn't matter because most of you guys watching here are high performers and highly committed. You don't care if it says 48 years, you want the $1 million. If you are the person though that doesn't feel satisfied with 1 million after working 48 years, then add a zero to that. Or $10 million appealing? How about $100 million? How about $1 billion? There's always a number that's appealing. There's always a movement that's appealing. There's always a goal that's appealing. You need to identify what is it that is appealing to you. Now, once you identify what is appealing, it doesn't matter because the stats still say that 97% of us will fall off along the way. The reason this happens is the following, is because as soon as you commit to a process, regardless of it being 48 years, 30 years, 10 years, to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, there is a reverse contract that is signed. What does this look like? Well, this looks like this. This looks like me saying, hey Greg, here is $1 million. In order for you to cash the $1 million, all you have to do is sign a contract with me that says that you're going to work 48 years, 40 hours a week, every week, no vacations taken. Will you sign the contract to cash the money? If the answer is no, do you need more money? Is that what you're looking for? Or is it that you don't want to be a slave to that process? For most of us, what we identify is that we don't want to be a slave to the 48 years. We believe that we can achieve greater value elsewhere. So the question is where? Or better yet, for what? The reason the $1 million question is for what is because now, instead of looking at the $1 million as an outcome, we can start thinking about what can we do with the $1 million? What can we do with the muscle up? What can we do with the goal that we're trying to achieve? And even better yet, how can I start acting as if I have a muscle up right now? How can I start acting as if I had the value that I'm seeking right now? And that way, I don't have to sign a contract. I'm actually adhering to a process, to a program, because I want to, because I'm in control. So now that we know that what we're seeking is not the $1 million, is not the muscle up, but the value, what we can do with achieving something like the muscle up or making $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, $1 billion, what we can start doing is we can reverse engineer our finish line from a mental and emotional perspective and create a bridge that takes us to where we currently are right now. This, my friends, is the prescription. This is what we need to find. And in our practice, this is what we call scaling. If you can find a scale that challenges you, that stretches you, that gets you closer to feeling the way that you're going to feel when you cross the finish line, then you are in the right practice and the right mindset that will get you closer over time. Now, how do we find this? Well, this is where we need to become practitioners of movement and stop chasing numbers. This is the same concept of prerequisite strength. And prerequisite strength being the mindset of going from chasing numbers to understanding that basic movement patterns, unlocking them will lead to the next one. And when you are able to practice in a way that you can appreciate, you can see, you can feel the movement pattern that you're exercising right now, you will always feel the same way as you're gonna feel when you cross the finish line. It's the same experience. And this is what you need to work on. That is closing the expectation gap. Now, why is this important? Well, because if you feel connected to what you're doing, you will keep showing up. And after 21 days, you will have formed a new habit. And after 66 days, that habit will be a lifestyle. And once you are living that style, you're producing the results that you want, and you will have completely changed your mindset approach to your process.